Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi, guys. It's Meosha. I am back with another episode of Creators to Creators a Day. Today, we have a special guest.
Dan R. Howard.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I love talking to people who are creatives, and whether it's, film, music, composer, actors, I just loved hearing the stories. And I always say that, I find it very interesting when you go back to the childhood. Like, I find like there's something in there that kind of shows or like your trajectory of life. Like, that makes sense. That person was doing this. So let's start at the beginning. How was your childhood? And what was that like growing up? Yeah.
Well, I was very lucky. I had very supportive parents. They both came from not supportive environments. So they were like full tilt, letting me follow my dreams. They had me test everything when I was young, played piano when I was 6 years old, and I actually didn't really like it. They had me test all the sports, soccer, basketball, and I just never was a sport guy. Didn't have that competitive energy in me. And then even though I didn't like piano, I kept taking piano lessons. And at a certain point, it stopped being a chore and turning into love, and trying to think, yeah, I played cello in fourth grade and saxophone in fifth grade. And
Nice.
I was always around it. But I also always loved movies. That was always like the biggest pinnacle. And I always credit Lord of the Rings, the first one,
Oh yeah,
as
good one.
being what set off that film score bomb in my brain.
I love it.
Because it's just everyone obviously loves the music in Lord of the Rings, and it was very inspirational. But I also have memories of running around my house, the music from Indiana Jones. I would dress up like him and just put the score on and run around the house. So I was always very, very affected by film music. Um, and My parents always mentioned how at a pretty young age, when watching a movie, I would be listening to the film music.
I love it.
And I would comment on it afterwards, and they were like, "What? What are you talking about?" Um, so I was always just especially attuned to it. Um, and yeah, I graduated from high school, and then I was taking music classes there, um, and I applied to Berklee College of Music in Boston,
Nice.
and I didn't get in the first try.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so I went in. I went to UMass Dartmouth, which was also in Massachusetts, and I studied music there for like 3 years. Kind of got my chops up, and then I had a composition teacher at UMass Dartmouth who knew I loved film scoring,
Mhm.
and my plan was just to graduate from UMass Dartmouth and you know move to LA kind of thing. And he was like, "Wow, if I were you, I would try Berkeley one more time." And I was like, wow, I've already spent 3 years here at UMass Dartmouth, and he was like, just audition one more time, because he also taught at Berkeley.
Nice.
Um, so I auditioned one more time, and this time with the audition, I um, wrote my own piece on piano and auditioned with that.
Nice.
Whereas the first time I auditioned, I just picked two pieces that I thought they would want to hear, which they
Mm,
always say is the biggest mistake,
I
you know,
see.
because if you play what you think they want to hear, they've probably heard that 1,000 times, you know.
Right, right. Wow,
So I wrote
that's
my own piece,
amazing.
and then long story short, got in.
That's incredible. Wow. I mean, I'm sure that was at first, I'm pretty sure you were like, I mean, if you could relive that moment, like, did you feel like discouraged at all when you didn't get in? And like, oh my God, it's over. Or like, I don't know. How did you deal with that?
I was pretty young, so I still didn't know. I mean, I knew I wanted to do film scoring, but I think I was more disappointed than I wanted to admit to myself. Because when I didn't get in, I was like, okay, whatever. But then my mom actually told me years later that she had found I had like a Berkeley lanyard,
Okay.
and I had like cut it in half and threw it in the trash, you know. So, so I was a little more bummed than I wanted to admit, I think,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right, of course. But you know, I feel like that's amazing. I think in our journey, which I find very interesting, I feel like you just really never know. And you're gonna have those like moments where it's quiet and it doesn't go quite the way you anticipated. And it's like
Hmm.
I feel like those are the moments like that kind of makes us or breaks us in a way, right? It's like, are we gonna fold or we're gonna just figure out another way? I mean, so I commend you for like just doing it again. Most people are like, you know what, screw this. But good for you.
Absolutely. And that's been a lot of my journey. I mean, when I finally moved to LA, so as soon as I graduated from Berkeley, I was off for a week and I road tripped out to LA. I couldn't wait to get out here and start working.
Yeah.
But I moved out here September 2019. So I had a few months of hope, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And when I got to LA, I scored a short documentary. I was like, all right, things are happening. I'm doing the thing. And then it's just kind of like all shut down, you know.
Wow.
Um, but I hung out here. I found little music gigs to keep my brain active and busy, and eventually let's see, July 2020, I believe, I got my first composer assistant job, and it was
Awesome.
remote because of the pandemic.
Right.
And similar situation, I lost that job after 3 weeks. Um, it was very difficult remotely, and there was very little training. So that was another kind of big blow, very discouraging.
Yeah.
It was a little embarrassing because I shared it on Facebook, and then I had to take it
Oh,
down.
those are the
um,
worst. Oh,
right? But I weirdly value all those moments because it did teach me what I like, or it was a big reminder, like you have things to work on, you know. So uh, fast forward a little bit, almost exactly a year later, July 2021, I got another composer assistant job, and I was there for like a year and a half, and then I left on my own terms, you know.
wow. Wow.
Um, and that got me into the industry, and I was learning tons of valuable, not just composing stuff, but you have to know a lot of tech stuff for this job, which I didn't realize
Mm.
before I came out here, and just the way everything works with the whole film scoring process, you know.
Oh
And
my
since
God.
then, I've been very busy.
That's incredible. Wow. Wow. Like I'm curious, like you said, there's a lot of tech that goes into it. Like you have to like so it's I'm sure like I don't know how your process is when you're composing or when you hear something like is there any like challenging aspects of composing when music or anything or like for
Sure.
you?
Well, I mean, I have a very I don't. I mean, I say this half joking, I guess, but I don't like to think when I'm composing.
Okay.
I don't like to get caught up in is the harmony impressive, or like um, do I sound cool, or I just like let it come out, because there's nothing wrong with studying your craft. Of course, you should study your craft, but I believe in studying it and then almost in a way forgetting it,
I
so that
got
it
it.
just kind of comes out organically.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a very improv kind of approach where if I'm scoring a scene, I have this scene on my big screen here right in front of the piano, and I
Hmm.
just kind of play along to the scene, not really always with a plan. I'm just testing stuff out. I'm searching. I'm digging. Um, and then something sticks, and I go, oh, whoa. And then I start to craft a little bit more, and then you add layers and you build, and I'm also really really into making my own sounds. I have tons of plugins and software for manipulating sounds, so I'm always searching to surprise myself, but then of course to first and foremost support the film.
Yeah.
So all of that is certainly not easy, but I guess the biggest challenge, is to kind of let go. Sometimes a scene doesn't need a crazy, beautiful, melodic,
Yeah.
piece of music. Sometimes it just needs a little hum, or something.
Yeah.
And you have to let go because like, maybe it's just a low drone. It's just like, when someone watches the movie, they won't even hear that little
Right.
drone. But you are supporting it. You are giving the scene what it needs.
I love
So
that.
you have to kind of let go of your ego a little bit. Because most films, there's a chance to when you get to show off the music a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, a scene without dialogue or something, or.
I love that. I love that. Well, yeah, it's like a feeling. Like you just feel it. It feels right. And that's how you know it's like, okay, I'm not gonna, because I think it's interesting. I love to hear people's process when it comes to creating their thing. It's like, how do you know when it's like, all right, that's it. I'm gonna let it go. Because you can, like, I'm sure, build and keep building, and then it's just like this.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, I mix my own music too, and that's another layer of tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. But I mean, I think the benefit with film is there's always a deadline.
Yeah.
So, you have to let go eventually. At a certain point, you're like, okay, this is what it is. So.
Right. 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 Have you like so have you ever like do you like so film is like the thing that's where you like that's it. You don't want to do any other types of like music composing.
No, no. I mean, film is definitely my biggest drive, my biggest passion.
Yeah.
I've always liked the idea of. I'm a big gamer. I would love to score video games too.
That's
Um,
fun. That's fun.
yep, I have a PS5 in there. Um,
Nice.
really, really into it. But film is definitely like what drives me the most. But I'm also into songwriting. I'm currently beginning work. I'm gonna produce a song for a singer. She sent me a song
Oh.
she wrote, and I'm gonna arrange it and such. So I'm very into that stuff too, and I have tons of like half-written songs or ideas that I want to put out a solo album eventually.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Exclusive. We hear it here first. Yes.
oh, right, yeah, there you go. It's out in the world, so now I have to do it, which is great.
There we go. That's exciting. What made you say, yeah, I want to, you know what? Yes. Like, what made you say yes to doing a solo album? That's awesome, by the
Ah,
way.
thank you. Well, when I was in high school, I before I was really into film composing, I played in a bunch of bands, and nothing that like went on tour or whatever, but I always had my friends and I played guitar for a while. I had a really, really heavy hard rock metal phase, so I played a lot of guitar. And then I played keyboard and synth for like a prog metal band when I was in college. So like um I do enjoy the band setting or just writing songs and stuff like that. Um, but I always joke that film scoring kind of ruined me in the sense that without picture and without a deadline, it's actually hard for me to, like we were just saying, to let go. I have all these, like I said, half finished songs, and unless someone wants that song for a movie, it's just kind of hanging in the background. It's just an unsent letter.
I get
Um,
Yeah.
so I do believe eventually I will put something out because there's also, when you score a film, there's tons of music you're going to write that doesn't get used.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's bad necessarily, it's just that it didn't fit, or you went a different direction. So, it's certainly likely that I would put an album out of some of those unused tracks or I can rework them into like a solo album kind of thing.
Nice. That's exciting. Well, hey, congratulations on that. That's really
Thank
exciting.
you.
Um, curious. So, do you have like any, I mean, obviously inspirations when it comes to people that you would love to work with in the composing side? Like you would like, that's someone that's like on the top of my list to like work with.
Sorry, do you mean like a filmmaker or another composer?
Film or composer? Yeah, both.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Um, well, I've always been inspired most by, as I say, the weirdos. Um, so I mean, on the filmmaking side, right now my favorite director is Panos Cosmatos,
Oh, I've heard.
and
Wow. Okay. Wow.
yeah, he just did. Well, he's probably most famous for Mandy, and he has another weird movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow. Um, and I've seen both of those with some friends at midnight showings in the theater, and it's unlike anything else. They put you in a trance. They're incredible. Um, and he also has an episode on Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix. His episode is called The Viewing,
Nice.
and it's an incredible hour. But the movie Mandy was scored by my all-time favorite film composer, and fortunately he passed away in 2018. But Johan Johansson.
Wow, nice.
Um, yep. So I would say those two are always big inspirations, and then also Denis Villeneuve, the director. He's done like Dune and Blade Runner 2049 and Prisoners, Sicario.
Oh my
Um,
God. One of my favorite movies.
which one?
Prisoners,
Oh,
Sicario. Oh my God. Oh, those. Oh
it's
my God.
actually it was
Really?
actually
Your favorite?
Prisoners that
Oh.
yeah, it's one of my favorites, and it's what made me discover Johan Johansson.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
actually like that movie because of cinematography. Roger Deakins is my favorite
Oh,
cinematographer. Like how, it's like how, when I sit there and I like study his work and I'm like, wow, he's just a dream. He's incredible.
the way that film is shot is a huge part of its mood for sure. What they do with the light in that, I mean, it's a very dark movie, but
Yeah.
the whole thing is just filled with dread from start to finish.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love that. I wonder, I like to talk to people in their journey and, you know, the ups and the downs and has there been any moments in your life where you thought, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I'm going to try the whole, like, what everybody says, the 9 to 5, the regular, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that at all. But you know what I mean? Like give up on your dream. And then you have people who say, well, that's silly to just do this, those outsiders, the outside voice, the naysayers. How do you look past that and keep going? Like, what is how do you keep going?
Yeah, yeah. No, I've never, knock on wood, but I've never lost that drive.
Love that.
But there's certainly been tons of moments of doubt, especially with social media, where you're seeing other people finding success in what you want. You know,
Mhm.
um, and but I started to use social media kind of as practice, where if I see someone post about something that what I wanted to go to a premiere like that or whatever, um, I practice being happy for them, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
because that they're in the same position as you are, struggling and trying to get it out there, and I also remind myself that everything happens for everybody at totally different paces. It's not actually a race, you know, um, but you can also learn from others too. You see how they're posting maybe, and you're like, oh, maybe if I do something similar, I will
Mhm.
also start to build some, have enough content to put out there and things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so, I mean, the whole pandemic, I wasn't really working much. And then when I got my first composer assistant job, that took up all of my time. So I still wasn't like meeting young filmmakers and scoring. And it was mostly just like a tech assistant job, and I was kind of like not feeling fulfilled. And, but that's another thing is that I just learned to trust that things are coming, because you always, there's that famous mantra, make things happen.
Mhm.
But I think that can be a little dangerous because if you can burn yourself out, like I'm making things happen, but nothing, like
Yeah.
why is nothing happening? But you also have to let things happen, you
Right.
know? Most of my opportunities, like this year, 2023 has been my busiest year so far.
Love that. I love
And
that.
a lot of it has been from things I built up last year. You know, I applied for a paid internship with a really great film composer, Joseph Trapanese, like March 2022.
Nice.
And then they said the position was filled, and I was like, okay, no big deal. I forgot about it. And then like mid February this year, I got an email, hey, are you still interested? And I was like, oh, absolutely. And
Right.
then for 2.5 months, that was my life, was being at that studio. And I had a great time there. And now I've built more contacts and there's more people reaching out for work. And, you know, the whole time I was there, I was getting other short films. I was working on your film, Meosha, you know. So what?
No, I was saying Meosha.
Oh, Meosha, yes.
Coming
Woo!
soon, coming soon.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Amazing,
Um,
by the way. Thank you so much. I mean, wow, incredible, incredible. We
ah,
loved
th-
it. We were like, oh my God, what the heck? Insane.
thank you.
So
It
good.
was a lot of fun to write for. So.
Thanks.
But yeah, March and April, I was waking up at 6 a.m., composing, going to the internship, coming home, composing, repeat, you know.
Yes.
The weekends were my only chance to have a full day to compose, you know. Um, so to get back to your initial question, though, the 9 to 5, um, working at this composer studio kind of was a 9 to 5, and at least it was still in my industry.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest part is, of course, we all have rent to pay and bills to pay. So
Hmm.
you kind of do need that 9 to 5, especially if you're just building your career.
Hmm.
But it's really hard. The 9 to 5 takes up the biggest chunk of your day,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know? And like I said, I was getting up at 5 a.m. sometimes, 6 a.m. to compose, but it's a very stressful composing environment because I'm watching the clock and then it's almost 10. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
now I have to stop and go to work. And then all day I'm at work. I just want to be home composing, you know. Um, so it's much nicer, of course, when I have the entire day. I'm just home. I can take a little break if I want, or you know, work all day, work all night, you know. Um, so that's always the biggest stressor for me with the 9 to 5, you know, because like I said, my parents are very supportive, but
That's good.
you know, at the start they were like, you know, Dan, you need some income. Maybe you should like just try to work at like a coffee shop or something, or da da da,
Hmm.
you know. And I know tons of people who do that and
Oh,
they
yeah.
do very well, of course, you know.
Hmm.
But I do find it very hard to kind of keep that healthy creative process while also having that 9 to 5, you know.
Oh.
Um,
Hmm. Yeah, oh yeah, it's like, I think I was reading something about like Leonardo DiCaprio. He was bussing tables while he was doing, his thing. And I was like, that's incredible. Like the fact that it for me, it's not that you can't have that. If I was like the fact of how do you balance the two and still have enough energy to put into, your craft, right? What you love to do. And then you're probably burned out from work. But so it's like, oh my God. But I think if you want something enough, you're gonna do whatever it takes to get in, for sure. So
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and yeah, exactly, whatever it takes. You know, that's why I was up at 5 a.m. You know, I set an alarm on my phone and I put my phone away from my bed, so I had to get up to turn it off.
right, right,
You know,
right.
for force myself up, you know. And then you're up
Absolutely.
and you're like, you know, and then you know, I make some coffee and then I'm off to work, you know.
Exactly. Oh yeah, you're a coffee drinker. Yes, yes.
Oh yeah. Well, it's actually a recent thing for me. I was drinking decaf for a very long time, and then actually, funny enough, while I was interning at this composer studio I mentioned, he had a really beautiful Breville espresso machine, and I was learning how to use it while I was there. And you know, the whole like locking the portafilter into the thing, grinding the beans, and
Yeah,
steaming the milk and everything. I was like, I really like this. You know, the ritual of it all.
yeah,
So I bought myself a Breville, but the cheaper, smaller one, of course. And yeah, I love experimenting now, buying different beans and getting the grind size correct and everything. And you know, it's just another thing for me to um, obsess over, I guess, or to
yeah.
perfect.
Exactly, exactly. I love it. Oh man, so good. I love to ask, for people that are listening, I know there's a lot of people that want like need advice or want some type of direction. Um, so what advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into composing or trying to do what you're doing? What does that look like?
Yeah, you know, there's I think the first advice is there's no one approach, there's no correct approach. You know, I do find with a lot of my friends from Berkeley or other film composers you meet, you know, there can be a sense of competition, of course, and um, you know, a little pettiness can show itself because everyone tries different paths. Maybe one person works at a really big film score studio, or another person doesn't work at a studio at all and is purely trying to do freelance, or there's tons of different paths. And um, the first thing is to just trust your path. you
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
but then if you're getting into it like super fresh, there's the college approach, or you don't have to go to college though either. Especially with the internet, there's tons of YouTube tutorials on composing, what kind of software to buy, how to use that software. So definitely build yourself a stable groundwork as far as learn the tech side of things as well. But then, fortunately or unfortunately, definitely come to LA, because when I was starting to get contacts, when I was still in Boston, anyone who I was put in touch with, they were like, "Hey, cool, nice to meet you. When you're in LA, let me know." So like they didn't even want to talk about it until I was out here.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is the beautiful thing with the city, and of course I have my frustrations with the city, but I never came here to love the city. I just came here to work, and it's a city where you do meet people. I mean, I remember um, my girlfriend's car, we had a garage at our old place, and the battery in her car died. So I called AAA,
Mhm.
and the AAA guys come, and he's very friendly, very talkative. He asked me what I do. I said, "Oh, film composer." And he's like, "Oh, I used to work at Warner Brothers." you know. And I was like, wow, only in LA would you run into someone, a contact like that, when you're getting your car fixed.
That's
There's
true.
just tons of little things like that, and nothing came from that connection, but it still reminded me that like that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess to like wrap up the advice, um, also figure out for yourself how you operate. Like for example, I'm definitely an introvert. And I remember when I first got here, again, through various contacts, like from teachers and stuff, and I was invited to this, some composer was having like a party at a bar to celebrate some anniversary of their film score studio, their company. So I went, and it was supposed to be this big networking thing, and I was going to meet all these people, and I hated my life. I didn't know anybody, and they were
Aw.
all older. And I just like I was there for maybe 30 minutes, and I left. That was like 4 years ago or so. And that was a moment of, for sure, discouragement, where I was like, oh, I'm never going to make it out here, because you have to network. You
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
um, but I kind of figured out for myself that I'm really really good at one-on-one.
Right.
So again, through various, I would go to, maybe I did meet someone in the film industry and they have a birthday party, and I would go. And then while I'm at that party, I talk to one person at a time, or you meet someone and you get coffee with them, and then you get to know them very organically. And that's how I started to build my network, you know. So there's no right or wrong way. You just have to figure out who your people are and how you operate, and you'll land somewhere for sure.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, and what great advice. I mean, really interesting story. And I love that you're just someone who just gonna keep going no matter what. I love that. And I loved hearing your story. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure this was going to help someone out there who wants to definitely give this um, crazy industry that we're in a go. Where where can people find you on social media so they can follow you and contact you for work?
Of course, yeah. So I'm very active on my Instagram, um, which I'm blanking on the handle at the moment, but I have my website as well, which has a link to the Instagram. My website is just danrhowardmusic.com. And you can see my recent stuff on there, and like I said, links to the various social medias.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.